From the return of one of the MCU's most iconic villains to a bunch of new guys that are sure to become fan favorites, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had tons of amazing characters. Starting off with the main character, it's Scott Lang, or as you may also know him as, Ant-Man. This little guy wasn't always the big shot MCU hero that he is now. In fact, he had some pretty humble beginnings and could rightly be called an underdog, even by MCU hero standards. But thanks to a helpful little rat, Scott took center stage in Avengers Endgame. And it was because of him that the idea of even time traveling to different realities was brought forward. In Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, it looks like he's finally recognized as a hero, with people walking on roads saying hi to him and wanting him to take a picture with their dogs. His favorite coffee place also loves to give him free stuff, although that may be because they confuse him with Spider-Man. Ant-Man's transformation from being a relatively unknown character to one that's a big part of the MCU has been received pretty well by fans. It helps that Paul Rudd is a super likable actor.
Quickly, we realized they were not that interested in either one of us, and we thought it would be funny if we just started making each other laugh. And each guy kept trying to outdo the other guy with just silly things. And when we were driving home, I was driving, and I used to have a Jeep. It didn't have the doors on it or...
In Quantumania, his adventures reached an all-new level of small. But it's fair to say, the movie's impact on the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to be anything but. Though, Scott's not the only insect-based superhero in this movie, because there's also Hope Van Dyne. Hope, or the Wasp, is essentially Scott's partner in crime. While she went poof for a couple of years, thanks to Thanos' snap, she was back in action again after Endgame. At the start of Quantumania, it's revealed that she's now taking control over her father's company. The film also highlights how Hope and Scott are back together after their, let's just say, rough patch from the second Ant-Man film, though the Ant family isn't over just yet, since the movie also turned Cassie Lang into a superhero.
I can say that what I've felt so far is the fans really love Cassie, and I think we're in a new phase of Cassie. We're seeing a new version of Cassie, and she's changed. She's an independent girl, she's impatient, and she desperately...
Much like in the comics, Cassie took on the role of a crime-fighting hero in this film. While her official name hasn't been revealed yet, fans think she may actually be Stature, or Stinger from the comics. The movie portrayed her as someone who's always willing to do the right thing, even if that means breaking the rules every now and again. That ends up being a big part of the film, because she manages to convince the people under Kang's regime to stand up and fight. Much like her dad, she's got a knack for electronic devices, and alongside Hank and Hope, she's been secretly sending signals to the quantum realm. Surprise, surprise, that wasn't a good idea. The signals get picked up by Kang, who sucks everyone into the quantum realm. The film also has another important character who was featured in earlier films. Yep, it's Hank Pym. He's the discoverer of the Pym particles and the original Ant-Man. It's fair to say that much of this film series started because of Hank. By the third film, he's finally reunited with his family. Hope and Tim are on good terms again, and his wife, Janet, has returned from the quantum realm. So everything should be sunshine and rainbows, right? Well, not really. His family is once again in danger in this movie because they're all trapped in the quantum realm after a device demonstration goes haywire. Still, at least he's not alone there, since his wife, Janet Van Dyne, got teleported too. Janet's been a bit of a mysterious character ever since she was first introduced. It's clear she's been keeping some secrets about the quantum realm from her family. And in this film, the MCU finally peeled back the layers from her past. She's mostly had a back seat so far, so fans were happy to see her being an important part of Quantumania. In fact, it's safe to say a big chunk of the film is dedicated to understanding her past relationship with Kang, and just why they're not really on good terms anymore. If the variant of Kang that was seen in this movie is still out there, I definitely think Janet may end up becoming an MCU mainstay, especially once the multiverse saga really kicks off properly. Speaking of Kang, this film introduced us to yet another variant of this comic book villain. People have been hyping up Kang ever since he was first shown as He Who Remains in the Loki series. When he got teased as the next MCU baddie, fans were completely taken aback and surprised. It looks like he's going to be the upcoming Thanos-like villain, and unlike Thanos, Thanos, who was mostly built up through the use of post-credit scenes until Infinity War, it seems that this time around the MCU is giving fans a proper look at this villain very early on. And believe me, he's no pushover. In the film, he pretty much confirms that he's gone up against a bunch of Avengers before. Before you ask, yes, he killed them. In the film though, he's not a bad guy for the sake of it. In fact, he even offers Scott a chance at an escape from the quantum realm if Lang agrees to help him. While this version of Kang did presumably die at the end of the movie, it's clear from the post-credit scenes that fans are going to be getting tons more in the comic MCU films. Safe to say Jonathan Majors is going to have his schedule booked. Fans also noticed a returning character who's shown up before in the films, and that's Jimmy Woo. He's a former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., who you may have seen in Captain America: Civil War. Woo appeared once more in WandaVision and the previous Ant-Man films. After Hank and Hope broke the Sokovia Accords, he was tasked with tracking them down, but it seems that their names were cleared after the events of Endgame. In Quantumania, he's continued to have a friendly relationship with Scott and Hope, so I'm guessing any past grievances are all water under the bridge at this point. Another interesting character fans were super excited to see is Krylar, especially because the character is portrayed by none other than Bill Murray himself. He's a pretty insignificant character from the comics, so fans were wondering if the MCU would change things up. They've taken creative liberties in the past, so it wouldn't be completely out of the question. But all in all, Krylar ended up being a pretty minor character in the movie, really only having one scene, after which he was shown the door. But a villain that was actually pretty important is MODOK. Fan speculation turned out to be right in this case, because it was none other than Darren Cross, who's playing the part of MODOK in the MCU. Looks like he survived the events of the first film and is back for some revenge. It helps that just about everyone he's got beef with was sent to the quantum realm, so he was just having the time of his life. That said, the villain does have a change of heart, which a lot of fans liked. This rendition of the character was also really different from the comic books, but people thought that it worked well within the confines of the movie. Finally, let's take a look at all the new freedom fighter characters. The film introduced fans to Jentora. She had a pretty big role in the movie as the film dived into the micropolitics involved in the quantum realm. Alongside her was Veb, who's a jelly-like substance that has the ability to talk. He seems to have a fascination with holes. Another new character introduced in the film was Quaz, who's a telepath. I don't think it's likely we'll be seeing any of these characters in the future, considering how minor their role was overall, but who knows? That's all for the MCU cameos and characters that appeared in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.